1974, Haynes Total Healthcare has been proudly serving the Chillicothe community and surrounding counties, providing exceptional care to over 50,000 patients every year. Whether you're seeking chiropractic care, physical therapy, or nutritional guidance, we've got you covered. From athletes to seniors and from pediatrics to geriatrics, we treat patients of all ages, helping you live pain-free, stay active, and feel your best. With a place in the top 1% of clinics nationwide, you can trust that you're in good hands. We're open 6 days a week, ready to serve your family for years to come. Haynes Total Healthcare Center, where healing happens for every stage of life. Call for an appointment today or visit us at hayneshealth.com. I'm Jeran Cox, and as always, joined by Matt Hoops to my left and Christian Spradlin across from us. Going to get a couple coaches lined up tonight, and a big night in SVC baseball and softball. Two SVC undefeated foes, rivals, Zane Trace and Unyota square off. Unyota comes away with a win. Did you say 6-1 or 7-1?
It ended up being 7-1. Yeah, 7-1.
7-1, and then Unyota softball also knocked off Zane Trace. And I believe Zane Trace was undefeated in the league, tied at the top, and Unyota had lost 2 games, so maybe a little bit of an upset there. But a big night for SVC baseball, and
Yeah, I was happened to be out there. I'm just now starting to thaw out from it, but it was 2 really good games. The baseball game, obviously, 7-1, but it felt tighter than that. I know KB Perkins hit a big home run, and Ethan Puckett had another home run for Unyota, and Blake Sanders pitched extremely well. And then in the softball game, it was back and forth all game long. I think Unyota took the final lead in the 5th or 6th inning. Matty Tuttle had a double, scored a run, and then the catcher, the freshman Welch, hit a home run to make it 6-4. So 2 good games. Not good weather, but 2 good games.
Yeah, speaking of not good weather, we did have some rain delays and a couple of games that maybe started last night and maybe got an inning or 2 in, and just it kind of brought me back like full circle. We were talking to Coach Barr from Chillicothe. I don't remember, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, and the FAC schedule. And I kind of really, I've thought about that. I really like what they do. They play those league games back to back and leave our Monday and Tuesday, and then leave Wednesday as a rescheduled day open.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's honestly, the probably the is cleanest, the cleanest way to do it. Like, there's no gray area. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you can't say, we got rained out Monday. Well, we're scheduled to play again Tuesday, so you automatically you play, and then you flip it over and play them again Wednesday. There's no, we got someone else scheduled. We're not going to cancel that. Which I don't know all the league rules on.
I'm not for sure either with the non-league stuff.
What the makeup policy is on that or not, but. It's more black and white, I think, which in certain situations I think you need to make it. But and you're going to run into it every spring. You're never going to have a perfect spring, and it's something that baseball and softball coaches know going in, and they have to deal with it, and they adjust and move on.
Absolutely. I do want to talk about something else kind of off topic here before we get rolling into some of our coaches. Now, I thought it was really interesting. This NIL thing has really kind of changed the landscape of college sports. And, there was a big event this past weekend, Tennessee spring game. Coach Josh Heupel bringing back his quarterback. I believe he was a freshman last year. Had a really good season.
I think, yeah.
Really good season, and getting $2.4 million or whatever, and holding out for $4 million, and Coach Heupel just kind of says, "See you later. This program is bigger than what you are." So,
yeah,
and just as a high school football coach, what's your thoughts on that?
Good for him, honestly, because I know you have to play the game. I know you have to do what you have to do, and I think it's good for him that someone. My own. There I am. That someone finally took a stand and said, no, you know what? No one's bigger than this program. And he even threw himself in that. He said, not even myself. Yep. And, I think that what was – obviously I don't know all the details to it, but I think what was trying to happen was they were trying to say, listen, I mean, the quarterback and his dad said, well, it's the day of the spring game. No way that they're not going to cave and they'll pay us. Well, they saw what happened, and now he's out shopping for a new place to play. You said $2.4 million. Oh, by the way, a free education as well on top of that at a program like Tennessee, and it's just not good enough. And I'm afraid that's the trajectory of college athletics, and it's spiraling, in my opinion, the wrong way.
It is, and I think I was reading a little bit of Nick Saban talking about that, and he made some type of comment that said something like Peyton Manning played for the University of Tennessee. He went there for the pride and the history and the tradition, and you don't see that much anymore.
No, more so now playing for obviously the name on the back of the jersey instead of the one on the front. And I think that's one of the main reasons, and Nick Saban said is he got out. He's not in it for that. Obviously Alabama was, a story program and still is, but he saw the writing on the wall and the direction it was headed. And, there's a lot of people that are calling for Nick Saban to kind of become like I don't even know which commissioners, so to speak, of the NCAA football, and hopefully try to get this thing reined in.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's kind of funny. I was having a conversation with some buddies at lunch the past 2 days this week, and we were talking about Ohio State's quarterback situation. It kind of looks like Julian Sayans maybe took a leap in front of Keenholz or whatever.
Lincoln Keenholz.
And at what point does the backup quarterback start becoming almost like the third or fourth highest paid player on your team? Because
you got to have
one injury away. Mm-hmm. And so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out too. But
and does this whole Tennessee thing?
Yep.
Does it? You've heard Ohio State mentioned as a possible landing spot. How does that impact your team of a Ohio State national championship team that seems like they had a pretty good spring, positive? And now you've got this wild card out there of, what are they going to do? It's just, I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, we were off topic for a few minutes there, but it was something interesting. I thought it'd be neat to talk about on here and get your opinion on it and stuff. So we do have our first coach of the night on the line. We have Uniota softball coach Spencer Smith. Coach, you out there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Coach, first of all, congratulations on a big win tonight against St. Trace, taking them down. They're previously undefeated in the SVC. Just kind of talk to us a little bit about the game and how it went for you tonight.
Yeah, St. Trace is a good team. They got some good players, good pitching. They hit the ball really well. And obviously they're well coached with Morgan back, and she was a good ball player when she was there. But tonight I thought we performed pretty well in the field. We pitched real well. We made solid contact, and that was kind of the goal tonight was hit the ball hard and make them field it and get it to the last inning with a chance to win. And we did that. And super proud of our team.
It sounds like, Coach Hoops was talking about here just a minute ago, you had a big double, I think, by Madison Tuttle, and then a big home run by your freshman catcher.
Yeah. Maddie Tuttle hit the ball really hard tonight. She had 2 hits, and the last one was, if it was up a little bit higher, probably would have been a home run too. And then Mackenzie Welch had a home run there in the 6th that kind of put us up 2 and gave us a little breathing room at the end. And we moved her to lead off tonight, and she had 3 hits, got on all 4 times. So.
Coach, I noticed, and obviously you and I talked a little bit today about the lineup and about different kids assuming different responsibilities. You're about a week and a half, 2 weeks into this thing. And then tonight you kind of, I don't want to say you threw names in a hat and just picked them out and put them in different spots. Obviously there was some strategy behind it, but do you think that the adjustments and the changes that you made had a huge impact on this game, or do you think that the girls just, put it all together on one night?
Yeah, well, I think, I told them after the game, we brought 15 girls dressed for varsity tonight, and 13 of them got in the game. So, we're not a team that's going to just rely on one person. Basically, like some teams have one pitcher and they can dominate a game. We don't have that. We're going to need as many girls as possible to contribute. We need some girls to pinch run, pinch hit, have some outfielders and all that kind of stuff. So I think we had a good game plan of what we wanted to do going into it, and I think it worked out tonight. There's a couple that stepped up. Kinsley Batson came in and got on twice. She's only had 4 total varsity at bats in her whole life, and then got on twice tonight. So that was huge for us.
Coach, talk about your pitching tonight. Just kind of looking at some of your scores from earlier in the season, and they always seem to be like high scoring, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 runs or whatever. And you guys hold St. Trace to 3 tonight. So talk about your pitching and your defense.
Yeah, the pitching was real good. Kendall Walker pitched the whole game. I think she threw like 93 pitches. And it's been interesting this year. It seems like when the pitching's good, our defense hasn't been, or when the defense is good, the pitching hasn't been good. So I thought tonight we kind of put it all together. Like I said, St. Trace is a good team, and they put the ball in play. I think Kendall only had a couple strikeouts, so the defense fielded all the rest of them, and she competed. And when it mattered most, we got the top of the lineup out, and the defense came through for us.
Yeah, you talked about the Welch girl hitting the home run, Kinsley Batson,
yeah,
getting getting on base a couple times tonight. And those are obviously some freshmen. Did you really see those guys? The game starting to slow down for them a little bit, like when they're up there to bat, like they're starting to see the pitches, they're knowing what they're looking for and what they're trying to do. Do you see some things going on in their head that they're helping them mature a little bit?
Yeah, we only have one total senior. So, the rest of them are, a couple freshmen, some sophomores, some juniors mixed in. So this is the first live action they're getting. So these first couple weeks is, the first time they're ever playing a varsity, some of them ever playing a varsity sport. So getting up to the speed of the game is really huge. And it's taken us some time because we faced good teams. Our non-league was no slouches. Our scrimmages, we faced the Wilson girl. She's a Division I pitcher. So, we've faced some good competition. So right off the rip, we've kind of thrown them in the fire and just kind of letting them learn. And I think it's slowing down for some of them. And, it'll be hit and miss every night.
Obviously, Coach, every game's been close other than the Southeastern one and probably the Jacks one, if I'm not mistaken. But you're four league games into this thing. You're sitting at 2-2, and with a couple things go your way, you're 3-1, maybe 4-0 if you show up at Southeastern the other night. And I just think it's a credit to you, obviously, your coaching staff, and your kids for just grinding and believing. Every game that I've seen, I don't know if they know exactly what they're doing, but I know that they're playing hard. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Yeah. They're out there just trying as hard as they possibly can to win a game and do whatever it takes to win. And you guys are putting yourself in that position to do it. And with the way the league is shaped up this year, that's what you have to do. And, I think if you guys can get hot and continue to improve, you're going to possibly be right there at the end.
Yeah, every team in every game, I think we've had 4 one-run games, and tonight it felt like a one-run game, and it was pretty much the whole game. So every game has been tight at the end, except for Jackson. They were a really, really good team, and Southeastern just put it on as last Friday. They played great, and we played terrible. So, they were really good. But besides that, every game has been really close, came down to the end, and I think our girls battle, and they want to compete too. It's just we got to be more consistent with it, and we got 3 more this week that are going to be really tough, so we got to be ready to go.
2 Westfall tomorrow, is that right?
Yeah, we're at Westfall tomorrow, and then come back home for Miami Trace and Circleville. So 3 really good teams.
Well, good stuff, Coach. Appreciate you calling in and talking to us tonight, and wish you the best of luck the rest of this week.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Good job, Coach.
No, that Unioda softball team, that's a scary team here as you get towards the end of the first round, because you think about everybody they graduated last year. Almost none of these girls have varsity experience, and that's a big win tonight. Keep them at 2-2. Win. Yeah,
and I think that I don't know. I don't know if you'll see a gold ball in the SVC. I don't think you will. I think 11 or 12 wins, you win it.
I agree.
So, they have no room for error now, but 11 or 12 wins, and you have a chance, I think, to win this thing.
Yeah, if you remember that first preview show we did, I think we talked to 4 or 5 softball coaches on, and everybody's talking about how wide open the league is. Like they're all really good teams, and
Right.
I think that's what you're seeing here as we get almost to the halfway point of the first round. So I believe we got our next coach on the line. We got Unioda boys baseball coach Tony Taylor. Coach, you out there?
Yeah.
Hey, Coach. First of all, congratulations on getting big number 400 there earlier in the season, and to top that off, a big win tonight against rival Zane Trace and two undefeated teams left in the SVC, and just kind of talk to us a little bit about your game tonight.
Well, Blake pitched one well of a ball game. He's a pitcher, man. He knows how to pitch. He don't get shook. He don't get too high, too low, and he just keeps fighting.
Yeah, Coach. Hey, it's Matt Hoops. Obviously, I was out there tonight. I saw you all bundled up. Hopefully, you're warmed up by now. I know in your old age that cold's hurting you even worse. But that was the one thing I noticed tonight. Both times I've seen Blake pitch this year. The first game I felt like against Piketon, he was extremely efficient. I don't know how many pitches he threw, but it wasn't very many. And the ones he did throw were strikes. And then tonight to go out and to take them out in a league game, and let's face it, a rival game like that against an undefeated team, and just not even bat an eye was really impressive.
Yeah, and then he got into a little bit of trouble a few times, and he didn't buckle. I mean, some guys would fold right then and start either giving up hits. He just kept bulldogging through it, man.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed, too, obviously having a catcher like Keegan Snyder back there to kind of keep him comfortable, where I was standing, you could hear his teammates. They had his back the whole time. I heard countless times, Jackson Zickafu saying, go right at him, you're all right, you stay in there, and Callaway at second, I heard him multiple times, KB over at first. Just the guys kind of really made their voices heard to where I think it made him feel a little bit more comfortable. I mean, Blake's just a sophomore, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so for him to be able to battle out there as a sophomore to do that had to make him feel good with those guys behind him. And then a lot of those guys I just mentioned providing 7 runs and run support for him tonight.
Yeah, good thing that we had some good bunts we got down tonight that we haven't been getting down. And, 2 home runs. I mean, that's always nice to see, but I'd rather do the little things right. The big things come.
Yeah, I think one of those bunts was a pinch hit bunt, if I'm not mistaken, by Renner off the bench, right? A squeeze, like a safety squeeze late in the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's fast, too. So, I mean, he puts it on the ground. It's hard to throw him out anyway.
Right.
Coach, I know you guys got at least 3 or 4 guys coming back this year, probably more, but the big 3 that kind of stand out to me, it seems like they've been up on your varsity team since they were freshmen, probably. Snyder, KB Perkins, and Jackson Zickafoos. And I know that we've had at least 1 or 2 of those guys in here during the winter season talking about basketball, and just talk about their leadership and kind of what their goals are this year. They're really talented. You guys have a lot of talent. Just talk about what their goals are this year.
Well, you got to have a great catcher, and we have a great catcher. And he called all the pitches tonight. He kept Blake under control, even though he didn't do so good at the plate tonight. I kept and he stayed right in with the game plan and worked his game plan out and did a super job with that, because he could have got mad, just act like he didn't care, you know what I mean? And then body language would have went off onto Blake, and then Blake starts throwing balls all over the place. And then, Hoops was saying, Zick's out there keeping him, leadership coming on and making him feel more. And KB's right there at first base, yelling at him, telling him to come on. So, I mean, you work together, good things happen. You start pulling apart, and bad things fall apart. Especially,
this in a game like baseball where you fail more than you don't. You you kind of always try to see the big picture of the whole thing. And I really just feel like, I think it's because all of those guys have played so much baseball, especially at the varsity level, that they really are mature enough to be able to handle that. And you talked about it. You talked about the catcher, and then right up the middle with Zickafoos, and then Jack Welch in center field. You guys are as solid as you can be up the middle.
And if you're not solid middle, you're not very good.
Yeah, that's right. It's a key. It's that way for a reason.
The one thing I was going to ask you about, Coach, or have you talk about, I got to watch you guys a little bit against Paint Valley. I think that was last week. And the one thing about Jackson Zickafoos is it seems like when he gets on base, he requires so much attention from the pitcher. Constantly thrown over to first and picking him off. And sometimes they forget about the batter and maybe they put one right down the middle and you got your nice hitters behind him. But I think in that game in particular, he was on first base and I think they tried to pick him off and made a bad throw and he ended up getting all the way to third. And I think he ended up scoring on an obstruction call. But, just talk about like his aggressiveness on the bases and how that really helps out your other guys.
Well, he sets the tone right off the get-go. He's most of the time he's going to put the ball in play, and he gets on first. He's a threat. He gets to second, and you got Keegan behind him. He's going. A lot of times the odds are he's going to drive him in. Him or KB. That's a pretty good group right there behind you. To produce a run. If you can get a run there right off the rip, that makes your pitcher feel a little bit better going out there.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing. Of course, I played at Zane Trace, but when I watch him play, his aggressiveness, the way he can hit the ball, plays shortstop, plays well. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Andrew Davis back when I played. And I just, I think you got a couple really nice players up there at the top, and I don't know. I think you guys, you've lost 3 games or whatever, but you've played some really good teams. I think that's really just preparing you guys to make like a deep tournament run.
Yeah, like I said, he's so much of a competitor, man. He's just not going to lay down. He's not going to quit. Zick will never do that, and that's a special thing. You can't teach that.
No, you can't. And
it's got to happen.
Yeah, and I've been able to be around him. Obviously, he's not the biggest kid in the world, and he plays, free safety for us. And this kid is as tough as they come. He's like T said, he's aggressive. He's competitive. He's very confident in what he does. He's a great athlete. You have someone like that on your team, it makes you feel really good, and especially as a pitcher, got someone behind you. It's going to make the plays. You got someone that's going to set the table. So really fortunate to have a kid like that. Then you get him back because he's only a junior. So, T, you guys go to Westfall tomorrow. What else? What's the rest of the week look like for you guys this week?
We got to go to Westfall. Then we play Miami Trace Thursday at the VA. And then we got Circleville at noon on Friday at home. So we got 3 tough games back-to-back, about 4 count today. So
yeah, busy week for sure.
Pretty tough week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Circleville, man, I had a chance to
That'll
watch them.
Test our pitching.
They've got some nice pitchers, a couple kids with really nice breaking balls and stuff. So
well, the good thing about baseball is all teams are usually in the same boat. If you play this many games in a week, everybody's got to throw all their guys, and just a war of attrition basically of who you got left and how long can you hang on. One final question for me, T, is, I know 400 wins is huge. Congratulations. Awesome to see, got a, great program. Obviously, took over for Coach Neff when he left. I just want to know, do you have an assistant coach like Mr. Neff had and yourself that would stay after until dark and just hit fungos until you couldn't swing anymore? Is that still happening? I know the lip is still at third base. Dwayne does a great job, Doodaddy, with the field, but that lip is still there. And I just wondered if we got anyone pounding that thing down anymore.
No, those are the good days there.
Coach Taylor, and many of you know this, and I don't know. he switch hitter. So he had hit me and Brad Miller ground balls until he got tired of swinging left-handed. And me and Miller thought we were done. He'd be like, oh, no, boys, we got to go right-handed now. We'd be out there fielding grounders till it was dark. My mom and dad wouldn't know where I was. Of course, they had no cell phones. Be like, where were you? I'd be like, T wouldn't let us leave, hitting us grounders. Yeah, those were the good days, T, man. We won a lot of games, but that's one of the things I always think of is after practice, fielding grounders with you and Brad.
Here's one thing I want to say there and I didn't say it there, but people don't get it. But sometimes, and people are so impatient anymore these days. You got to wait your turn. You know what I mean? So I started back, Gary Adams was the head coach.
Yeah.
And I worked with him. Then I was 4 years with him. Then 8 years or 8 or 9 with Donnie, before I take over the head job. And then, just like players, they want to play right off the rip and they don't want to wait their sophomore year.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, just society today or something. I don't know. I just wish people would just wait their turn and stick it out.
And I know you probably feel the same way. Is like you wouldn't do it any other way. There's no way you would.
No.
And I felt the same way about coaching basketball. I coached 3 years under Lysa. Then I coached 4 or 5 years with Coach Lovely. And then, you go to Westfall for 2 years, and then you come back. Like, you can't. It just doesn't happen right away. You got to put your time in. And I think it makes you a better coach. You learn different styles, different ways of doing things. Speaking of that, we've done away with hanging upside down hitting, right?
Yeah, we probably need to bring it back. I help some of these guys out.
Hey, if you need me to, I'll come back and show them how to do it.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see that one too. Maybe Johnny Novak falling down on his head. Remember that?
Oh, a lot of things I don't want to remember, but yeah, remember all that. Yep. Well, thanks for calling in, T, and congratulations, obviously, on 400 and off to a great start in the league. And maybe one night we can get you and a couple guys in here in studio and do it live if you don't play on a Tuesday night, which probably chances are slim. But if that happens, we'd love to have you guys come in, and good luck the rest of the week.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Bye.
Oops, big win, and man, he's got some studs back this year. And you're obviously really familiar with them, but obviously KB coming back.
Yeah, it's huge.
Ace on the hill. You got Snyder back there.
Yeah.
Zikafus at shortstop. Yeah. Man,
it's just, and what I like about it too is he's got a really good mix. I know baseball's year round for a lot of those guys. Keegan Snyder, for example, the second baseman Callaway Ratliff plays strictly baseball. The pitcher tonight, Sanders, baseball player only. But there's a good mix of kids that are 2 and 3 sport players, athletes that are mixed into that. And I think that's what takes usually baseball teams to another level, because those guys have competed so hard in the fall with the football and then basketball, and they won. And we talk about it all the time of, success breeds success. There's a lot of success out there on that field, whether or not they've played baseball, all 4 years or not. There's a lot of kids that have won a lot of games. So,
gotcha. Yeah, it's I think it speaks a lot too about having the confidence to pitch a sophomore, but just their depth at pitching and the pitching staff right there. And, I know I talked to you a lot about that in the fall about your football team, just the depth, but that's a lot of guts. Zane Trace, they're notorious. I normally wouldn't say this, but I think everybody knows, it's pitching machine, right? They just fastball. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Anderson was throwing a lot of off-speed pitches to try to keep them off balance or what, but it's,
and to me, when I got to the game, I was a little bit surprised. I thought for sure 44 was going to be out there, which is KB, and I look and he's at first. I'm like, oh man, he's throwing a sophomore, Blake Sanders, and he's answered the bell twice. The 12-0 shutout win against Piketon, and 7-1 complete game against the league leader who's undefeated. So, obviously baseball 2 rounds, and it's always tough to go to Zane Trace and win, which will have to do later in the season. But before they even get to that point, they still got to go to Westfall. They haven't played Huntington yet, so. A lot of baseball left.
Absolutely. Well, I think we got our next coach on the line. We got Paint Valley boys baseball coach Shane Combs. Coach, you out there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. I was talking to Coach Hoops here earlier. We're not sure you guys played tonight. He said he thinks he might have seen you out in the outfield. You guys?
Nah, I think it was behind the backstop, but maybe it wasn't you. I don't know. I was far away.
Yeah, I got over there tonight just trying to get a little extra scouting in on. It's kind of becoming the story of our year in terms of rain out. We worked really hard on our field. Had a lot of people put a lot of effort into it today, and I appreciate that. We just couldn't quite get it ready, and Huntington ended up falling into the same boat. Had a little afternoon rain out our way that was just enough to do us in, and so another game, and we'll move it again to Thursday, and then by league rule we'll lose another non-league game there. But that's the league rule that we always honor, and we'll try it again tomorrow with Zane Trace and move that Huntington game to Thursday.
I knew I was pretty accurate when I saw you and Matt standing. I was like, yeah, that's definitely two Combses. I can't be wrong on that. But I was out in left field, so okay, one for me.
Yeah, outstanding game. Just get over there a little bit and try to see some scouting, and then you see some high-level baseball. I heard you talking to Coach Taylor there, and congratulations to Coach Taylor on 400. I told him after the game that night, just kind of had a personal moment with him. Last time I was on with you guys, we talked about going all the way back to the beginning, and Tony's done so much for me, and it's just amazing what he's done there in the program. And again, he's got another really, really good baseball team this year, full of athletes and some really good pitching, and that young man behind the plate doesn't hurt either. I heard you talking about him; he's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good thing, when we talk to him about it. When you're solid up the middle like he is, and then you have the pieces you do on the edges, it makes for a good team. But so I heard you mentioned you throw the Huntington game now to Thursday. Who do you guys have tomorrow, Coach?
We go over to Zane Trace tomorrow, so we'll go Zane Trace, and then we lose another non-league game Thursday to put the Huntington game in there, and then have a really good Eastern Megs team coming up to the VA Friday and Fairfield Saturday. So we're just in desperate need of games. It's been a tough start. Lost 4 games in the first week, and then finally got to play a little bit last week. I thought we got better offensively as the week went. Now it's been since Saturday since we've seen a live pitch again. So again, just trying to keep the kids engaged, and hopefully we'll get some baseball here over the next 3 to 4 days.
Coach, how much do you think that and I mean, I'm pretty sure I know your answer to this, but like baseball is such a game of you have to stay consistent, and anytime you get thrown off, your routine or whatever it is, that hurts. But just the fact that you're not seeing live pitching day after day after day, and I know a lot of teams are in the same boat, but some of them aren't. There were some games played tonight, and unfortunately, you guys couldn't. How do you try to overcome that?
Well, again, there's a mental side of it, and in terms of you can only practice inside so many times,
right,
and so forth. But the first week we had 5 games scheduled and only played 1, so as we got into that first week of league play, it was challenging. We hadn't had a lot of live opportunity, and then you throw some kids to, hey, here, try KB Perkins out, and then Cash Conrad, and then Austin McGill Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it was challenging. Look, those aren't excuses; those are the reality. And
right,
we competed at a high level. I was proud of how we pitched and defended. We lost those games 3-0 to Uniota, 4-0 to Westfall, and 2-0 to Adena. We didn't score a league run, but I thought we started to show some signs there on Saturday. We lost 9-5 to Greenfield, but I thought we pitched and defended at a pretty high level. So I've been doing this long enough to know that if you can pitch and defend at that level over the course of 20+ games, it's all going to even out here.
Right.
So I still have great optimism that this team has some of its best baseball in front of them.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I took away, especially from your first game. You got it in, but originally that's a home game, right? So now that's an adjustment you have to make, and then the next, you show up, and then obviously you knew going in you were going to get KB, and 3-0. I mean, they only scored 3 runs on you. Granted, you didn't score any, but like the fact that your guys didn't kind of just wilt under what they were faced with, I think it's obviously a credit to you and your program.
Well, I think it's a credit to our kids. I think as they've grown up over the years, the biggest thing that I ended up taking away from the first week is I don't see guys that are overwhelmed or afraid. Sometimes you get dominated by talent on the other side, and you tip your cap to that, and you just get better. But John Free was outstanding in that game for us. Then Owen Donahue threw well at Westfall. Jace Reinhardt's given us innings. Then Bryce Bland was outstanding against Adina. He deserved a lot better in that 2-0 loss. Preston Fauber's thrown. I know I'm missing someone. That's Jace Reinhardt, Braden Kirkbride. Well, we've had about 5-6 guys gone through the ball to high level, and then don't forget Preston Fauber behind the plate.
Right.
You mentioned
I was
the
going to
catcher
mention
being
that.
so important. He's so good behind the plate too. So the fact that we've defended at a high level gives me great optimism. We obviously have seen 3 or 4 guys that's going to show up probably on the all-district list here at the end of the year, in terms of left-handed pitching that has been really good. So we've tried to stay with it, trying to simulate as many things from a hitting standpoint as we can in practice. And then, like I said, hopefully over the next 3 or 4 nights, we'll get a chance to play in some consecutive nights and try to get some rhythm in the box.
Coach, you talked about last week you hadn't scored a run in the league yet. And you got some guys, and you're facing really good pitchers. There's no secret about that. But when you got some guys maybe that are struggling at the plate, or some younger guys, like, do you talk to them like maybe before the game, like give them goals, like, hey, I want you to maybe try to get on base, 2 times tonight, or hey, let's see you foul some pitches off, maybe try to draw a walk, or just some little things like that where they can get themselves like little individual victories that kind of help the team? Or what do you talk to those guys about that are struggling or are in a slump?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You talk a lot about winning 2-strike pitches. Throughout that first week, we ended up striking out way too many times. So anytime you're facing an elite pitcher and elite catcher, the last thing you want to do is let those two take care of 2/3 of the outs. That's just too many. You've got to fight with 2 strikes. In today's pitch count rule, you've got to be able to win some pitches. You got to be able to put the ball in play. Even your really good high school teams are going to make errors. Willie Wheaton's done a real nice job for us at the top of the lineup. He's off to a pretty good start getting on base and with the batting average, and he sparked us a little bit there. And, for the most part, as the week went on, I thought we improved in some of our bats. And then we talk a lot about situations. It's in terms of if we want to do what we want to do in the postseason, rarely are you going to go out in a tournament setting and start winning games 12-11. You're going to have to learn to play these types of games and play these low-scoring games. So we talked about in situations you don't get 3 and 4 and 5 times to try to execute. I heard you talking to Tony there about their ability to bunt the baseball and get it out on the ground tonight, put some pressure on the defense. We've been in 2 situations, one in the Uniota game, one in the Adina game, where we allowed them to stretch the lead out to 2-0 in the middle innings, and then we got in situations in the 6th inning of both those games where we had an opportunity to score a run. But at that point, when you're down 2-0 and you're down to your last 5 or 6 outs, it makes it very tough to create the 1 run when you're trying to play for 2, if that makes sense. And it
takes the bunt out of the game.
Yeah. So it starts to put a little pressure, even when we've been really good defensively, it starts to put a lot of pressure on the pitcher. Like if you think about the Cincinnati Reds when they went through that stretch where they were losing 1-0, you put so much pressure on your pitcher, so much pressure on your defense, because you feel like you've got to be perfect. And obviously when you're facing the likes of a Uniota, of a Westfall, who's ranked top 5 in the state here this week, and then and then Adina, it does. It puts a lot of pressure on you to try to be perfect. And for the most part, we've been able to stay in the game, just haven't been able to come up with a timely hit or execute quite the way we need to offensively.
Speaking of the Reds and their 1-0 struggles, I don't know if your brother told you or not, but I told him he's not allowed to go to any more Reds games.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They've been no hit and shutout the last 2 times.
He joked with me today that the Mariners got a hold of him and offered him a VIP seats this week.
The series pass.
Yes. Brevin was mad at him because he said, we could have gone to the game on Saturday when Ellie hit that home run. I looked at Brevin, I said, if you'd have went to the game, Ellie wouldn't have had a hit. The Matt Combs curse in the Cincinnati Reds is real. But Coach.
Well, I don't doubt that. I think we're all to blame here somewhere in the last 30 years.
Something's got to give. I think the last, when the Reds won the World Series, 90? 1990.
1990, I believe
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah, it's been a while. So, just one more thing for me, Coach. And you're talking about your offense struggling a little bit, and is there a game plan that you approach? Like, you mentioned the pitch count. Hey, let's take till we get a strike, or do you want your kids aggressive early in the game? Let's maybe bunt some early to put the pressure on the defense. Does that change from game to game, or is that something that you guys are capable of doing, maybe to get you going early? I mean, how do you approach that as a baseball coach? Obviously, I played a lot of baseball, but I never really had to think about it, if that makes sense, in terms of like, I just went up there and tried to get a hit, you know what I mean? Like, but from a coaching standpoint, how do you try to generate that offense maybe that you're lacking a little bit? Is it to be patient at the plate, make them throw more pitches, or is it to go up there early and be aggressive?
It really is a fine line, Hoopsy, because if you're facing an elite pitcher, when you see a Perkins, you see a McGill, you want to go up there and be patient, but sometimes you go up there and you be patient. They're pumping the zone. Now all of a sudden you're living 0-1, 0-2, 1-2 the whole night. And I can sit down there and talk about winning two-strike pitches all I want. I'm not the one in the box trying to put him in play. It's a fine line where that happened to us in one key inning. With McGill's pitch count the other night, he's just such a strike thrower. He just pumps strikes, and he was getting out in front of us. So as the game went on, we felt like we were part in our order that was seeing the ball pretty well. We wanted to attack and be a little bit more aggressive. And then what happens is you swing at a first pitch, and you might hit the ball really, really hard right at someone. Right. Before you know it, he's had like a 3, 4, 5 pitch inning. So it's tough. I think you try to know each hitter, and you ask them to have a great at bat. I know it sounds cliche, but you want to go up there, sit on one pitch, one spot. If you get it, put a good swing on it. If you don't, try to work the count, try to work the at bat. But at some point with 2 strikes, I think it's really important. The thing is, I watched the Uniotas and Zane Traces tonight and so forth. You have to be able to put the ball in play. So you have to be able to try to put some pressure on the defense, because we do have some kids that can run a little bit. If we can put the ball out on the ground and just force somebody else to make some plays, especially at the high school level, I think that's going to help us be a little bit more successful. Especially
maybe if the defense has just been out there basically standing watching the pitcher work, and then all of a sudden the ground ball's hit to them and they got to move a little bit. Like you said, that's now they got to field it, then they got to throw it, and you got to catch it. You got a lot of things that have to happen in high school baseball, high school athletes in general. They're going to mess that up sometimes. So I think the more obviously you put the ball in play, it's as cliche as it comes, but you got a much better chance.
It's kind of like running the football compared to throwing the football.
Yeah, I mean,
so many things
true.
Can go right.
And the other thing is, running the football, it just takes a physical toll on the defense. There's nothing worse than having it 3rd and short, and then as a defensive coach, you give up a first down. Here we go again, another set of downs. Same thing with baseball. You put the ball in play, you get a runner on. Right. Now we got to start over and try to get another out. So yeah.
Well, Coach, I wanted to ask you.
There's no question about it.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, no question about it. I mean, as I said earlier, I think back, all the years I've done this, even the very, very best teams I've had, it wasn't like we were fielding 95, 96, 97%. We made errors. Your high school teams are going to make errors. You have to put some pressure on them and make them make plays.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's the biggest thing, even down there like Soda Valley. Just put the ball in play. Don't strike.
Pitchers throw strikes.
Yep.
Offensively, put the ball in play.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Coach, I want to ask you one more question. I know you're very cerebral, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. And I'm sure you're probably familiar with the FAC and their league scheduling for baseball and softball. They play the same team back-to-back on Monday, Tuesday, and leave Wednesday open as a makeup day in case one of the games gets rained out. Kind of what's your thoughts or opinion on that?
Well, I certainly understand the logic behind it, and in theory, it's not too bad. I think we have such a not closed isn't the right word. We have such a crowded calendar in spring sports, in comparison to fall or winter. The FAC is a little smaller conference than us. For us to do that,
that's true.
We get in a real calendar push. I mean, we're already in a Tuesday, Thursday situation where our league kind of has a reputation around the Southeast District not to really schedule because, again, we have such a strict rule on makeups. So it's a situation where, I like the concept of it. I certainly understand it, and I do think you end up getting a better look at the true depth of roster. So I certainly understand why. Just for the logistics of our league and us trying to play 27 games now that, the pitch count doesn't really favor double headers. Like, for the longest time we played 4 double headers a year because you're allowed to play 23 dates to get your 27 games. Ever since they went to the 27 dates and the pitch count, now
Right.
people don't really like the double header, and then you've got prom, and then you've got kids that want to go to this prom and this prom.
You also have kids maybe playing multiple sports as well. Track and baseball sometimes comes into play.
You do, and there's a lot of different things that go into scheduling. So it's just like in the situation we're in. I've spent so much time on email and phone and everything, just trying to give our kids a legitimate chance to play a varsity schedule this year, and you're starting to run out of dates.
Right.
So, it's a great concept. I totally understand why they go to it, but I think with a bigger league of 14 games, I think it'd be very difficult from a scheduling standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. Unless, I don't know if there's a way to, you play Monday, Tuesday, your makeup games on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, your makeup games on Saturday. I don't know. I don't know how you could do it.
I almost
don't
feel
think you
like
can
it
do
would
it.
need to
I don't
be
think you
like-
can do it with 8 teams.
Yeah, I feel like it almost have to be a whole Southeast District thing. That way,
Yeah.
you've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday open for non-league games. It couldn't
Yeah.
just be like one conference.
So you're telling me, Coach, that your game yesterday was Huntington, Paint Valley. Couldn't play it tonight. So obviously you can't play it Wednesday because you have another league game. You have to move it to Thursday. So the game that was supposed to be played on Monday is now going to be played on Thursday because the league rule is you have to play it the next available date or the next open date.
The next available weeknight. They won't make you play on Saturday, but the next available weeknight.
So what if you would have had
what'll happen too?
What if you would have had a non-league game scheduled Thursday? That gets wiped out?
Well, we did. So you
Okay.
cancel it. Yeah.
Okay.
You cancel that, and then you put and that's why I say over the years, more and more teams aren't loving the idea of scheduling the Tuesday, Thursday game. You try to play
Yeah.
so many early in the year, so many late in the year, so many on Saturdays,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. We're actually in a weird situation because we lost our home game to go to Uniota earlier in the year, and then now because of a track meet Thursday night, we can't play baseball on the same night we have track. So we're going to play our 7th league game. As of now, we'll play our 7th league game before we play a home league game. So I think I don't have
That's
the schedule
crazy.
in front of me. I think we're going to play 6 straight road games, and then we're going to play 7 home games, and then a final road game. I think that's right. So don't quote me on that. That's pretty close.
That's a long homestand.
Yeah.
But it's also
so
a long away stand to start it. My goodness.
It is. But like I said, goodness, it's the mound's the same distance and
Right.
we're hitting, and
Yep.
it's not like baseball. A lot of times that there's a strategic home field advantage, getting that last at bat and so forth. But
Right.
it's not quite like a football or basketball type of situation.
Yeah,
so it's not
especially
the end of the world.
A basketball game where you got to go, if you'd have to go on the road 7 times in the league in basketball. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I can't imagine
yeah.
that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, well, Coach, appreciate you calling in and talking to us tonight, and wish the best of luck the rest of this week, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again here soon.
Hey guys, appreciate it. Always appreciate the opportunity to call in and mention our kids by name and talk about our program a little bit. Appreciate all you guys do.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have at least one more coach lined up on the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show. Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show by Sosa. We got one more coach lined up for tonight. We have Piketon baseball coach Jonathan Teeters. Coach, you out there?
Yep.
Coach, appreciate you taking the time to call in and talk to us tonight. And it sounds like you guys had a tough one tonight, 6-3 against Wellston. Just kind of talk to us a little bit about that game.
Well, I mean, for the last 2 or 3 games, we haven't been able to close anything out. Faced a really tough matchup with Westfall last Friday and Stone Rock and Tuttle and the whole stable of lefties they have. Blew the lead then, and 1-1 last night against the D in the 5th. End up getting beat pretty good by them, and then tonight, can't hold on to a game. So 3-2, lose 7th inning, but we're just giving away too many free bases right now. I told our guys we've got too many experienced arms and good arms at that. We don't have guys that are going to K a lot of people, but name of the game is not give away free bases, and we're giving away too many right now.
Are you bringing in like different pitchers, like close type situations? You riding the guys that have been gone, or kind of how's that been working for you?
Well, I mean, our main 2 guys are Mason Roberts and Zach Hanna, both seniors, both played a lot of baseball, practiced that year round. Tonight we threw Braylon Oliver, sophomore, his first year on varsity. And, if you were an innocent bystander and you come watch our guys throw, you would probably say he has the best stuff on our team. Probably has the best velo, got a really nice curveball. Like tonight, give up 2 hits, but he walked 6. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. But the good thing about it is we're where a lot of teams are. Traditionally, we don't really start off hot. We kind of try to do the best we can do to be ready where we need to be come tournament time. But, we're making too many mistakes right now, and I'll tell you what, the SBC this year is as tough as I've seen in a long time. So everybody's got good arms, and you guys know how the coaching is in the league as well.
Yeah, just coaching Little League baseball, I always tell our guys, like, if you walk somebody to lead off an inning, that usually equates to at least 1 run. And I think that holds true in high school baseball still,
It is an absolute killer. I think the Westfall game, if I remember correctly, like 4 or 5 out of 7 innings, we had leadoff walks. Mm-hmm. But I told the guys tonight, the good thing about this is when we stop doing these things, the scoreboard is going to reflect that. Right. So
they're fixable.
I don't know, Jeran. Yeah. Maybe I'm not. Well, I am superstitious. Maybe I need to sacrifice some chicken tonight, do a ritual or something, get us turned around.
Coach, I was extremely superstitious too for a long time, and then one year I said to myself, "Listen, my superstition is I'm going to not be superstitious." And we went 26-0. So that's what you need to do. Stop being. Your new superstition is to stop being superstitious.
I don't know.
It didn't matter what tie I wore. I could wear any tie. I didn't have to think about it. I just grabbed one, put it on because I was done being superstitious. That was back when I wore a suit. Now I don't have to worry about that ever, which is great.
Well, I got to come up with something. I don't know if it's a group text of the guys look for a chicken or if I just see one off the side of the road.
Yeah. I don't know. The chickens are. You don't want to sacrifice a chicken. Those are pretty expensive right now. Price of eggs is out of this world. Find something else. We got to get you rolling though.
I used to think I was superstitious till we heard old Caden Cutright in basketball season.
Yeah,
that's a bad example. Poor Caden. Oh man. So, Coach, you guys were really probably only. I don't know if Adina played tonight, but probably only one of one that probably have played 2 games this week. Being able to get that game in last night at the VA, and then you guys played tonight. Who do you guys play tomorrow?
We've got Huntington.
Okay.
So, VA was nice enough to. Well, I was kind of looking at the radar, and I got a hold of Wickline, and we ended up making that work yesterday. So it was nice to have that. Yeah. Get that game in, but. Man, I'll tell you what, these arms in the SBC this year are legit. The Garrison kid threw it really well. Stone Rock's threw it well against us. Tuttle came in and is pumping it. Seems like every year Unioto has 3 or 4 guys. McWhorter's tough at Southeastern. I mean, there's just arms everywhere.
And do you think it's the depth of the arms too, Coach? Because I don't really, I mean, like all these, you've mentioned a lot of really, really good kids, but there's no, and not that there ever is, but like a Zach Farmer type of pitcher out there that's just a complete dominator. But like there's a bunch of really, really good arms on every team, if that makes sense. It's what I see so far.
There sure is, and they're experienced, and they come at you. And I mean, the people don't realize how good the baseball is in this area. You know, I was talking to Tony Taylor the other day, and I agree with him. Last year our league wasn't as strong, but man, this year it's tough, and I think anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And you know,
I agree.
When you got arms like that, I mean.
And the good thing too now is going to I think that people will realize it even more now that we're all spread out over 7 divisions. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're not all bunched up in what used to be D3. Now we're, some are D4, some are D5, some are D6, and even D7. Like I think we range from 4 to 7 now, which is going to be, only beneficial to the SVC in terms of how many tournament runs different teams can make.
Yep. I was thinking about that the other night. I was, I do certain things after every game with our schedule and, document notes and whatever. And I thought, man, our league this year, I think, is really going to show how tough it is because of that reason, because of the new division layout.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, let's try to be a little more positive here. You guys have obviously
leave the chickens alone.
Yeah. You played really well. You talked about you've been right there going into the last inning, 3 games, and you guys are still 5-5 right now. Is that right?
Yep.
So it's just the fixable errors. The walks. Easily, you guys could be 7-3 or 8-2 or whatever. Yeah. And talk about some of the good things that you guys have been doing up to this point.
Well, I mean, we are this group is fun. I will tell you that. I mean, each group that you have every year kind of has its, tendencies, of things that we got to work on. But this group, they get after it. They're extremely coachable. And I was talking to Coach Noble the other night, and I'll tell you what, I don't know that I've had a group that cares as much as this group. They really want to do well. They want to do things the right way. And they're doing the best they can do right now. So as a coach, that's all you can ask for. But man, you want to get those wins. And that's what I told those guys. If we can tighten up a few things here and there, we very easily are 7-3 and 8-2. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a fun group to coach. It's nice and it's refreshing to have a team that's all aligned, and cares as much as they do.
Absolutely. And you guys have been putting some runs up on the board too. You talk about facing these really good pitchers and you put up runs. Yep. So talk about the guys that have been, performing well for you up there at the plate.
Well, I mean, for us to get going, we got to get our top 2 or 3 guys on base. Gavin Blanton, Zach Hanna, and Jace Ritchie. If those guys get on, we kind of get going. We're playing a different baseball this year. Offensively as to what we've been doing, trying to be a lot more aggressive and bring, I've been telling the guys, let's bring Piketon baseball wherever we go. I mean, let's play the game we want to play and make other teams defend us. And I think they've really bought into that. I think it's helped them lock in more. And, a lot of people think baseball is not fun. Well, baseball is fun. When you play the game the right way and you execute, I mean, there's nothing better than it. And I think the guys are seeing, it's really fun when you win. It's fun when you execute, and it's fun when you play the game the right way. But it's tough when you don't do those things.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, there's nothing better than seeing a guy take an extra base or getting a bunt down and scoring a run, making a great defensive play, and then, how many times in baseball you make a great defensive play and then that guy leads off the inning, gets a base hit, and just get that momentum going. Baseball is a lot of fun. And, it seems like it gets a lot more fun when the weather is nice and, you get into a rhythm and you can play more games, more people are coming out to it. You start heading to the tournament. It's a really fun time of the year. It's exciting. School's wrapping up. But I agree with that statement right there. Baseball is fun. I think it's unfortunate that so many kids kind of start going away from it for whatever reason in high school. Yeah. But, the ones that stick it out, they'll be rewarded for it and they'll have a lot of fun doing it. So I think, especially playing in a program like their coach, you're doing it the right way. And I think the more consistent you guys can get in terms of, stringing games together and, just like anyone else, you guys you'll start winning and finding yourself on the positive side of things, I think.
You said a key word there, momentum.
Yeah,
you got to keep it. And I'll tell you one thing, it can go one way or another in snap of a finger.
Mm-hmm.
Jace Ritchie goes and makes a big play tonight, diving behind the third baseman. We do a little drill earlier in the year, and it's the first time that he's went full bore and went after and got that ball. And that really changed the momentum of the game, but we lost it late. But yeah, the big momentum can either make you or break you.
Right.
Coach, outside of not walking as many people, what's one other thing that you feel like you guys need to improve on here as we start hitting? Good Lord, we're in the middle of April already. Almost the home stretch of the season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, outside of the walks, for instance, we played McWhorter. We were locked in at Southeastern, which, was a big win for us. I think he's one of the better arms in the league. So to go there and open up SVC play and get that big win was, we were all excited. But as you guys know, you come off a big win, it's easy to have, a letdown the next game. We go to Unioto. I believe, was it Sanders?
Yeah, Blake Sanders.
St. Trace tonight? Yeah. I'll tell you what.
Sophomore.
Yeah. Like I said, they've got guys every year, but, should have got out of, I think, the second, maybe the third with my guy at 28 pitches. We boot a ball around, turns into 68. We're out of the game.
Yeah, I was at that game. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's we are what we are, and for us to compete and win games, we can't afford to not know what we're doing when the ball's hit to you. And the quality at bats. To answer your question, I'd say quality at bats. You got to work, guys. You got to get pitch counts up. You got to do the best you can do to get the starter off the mound. We wore McWhorter down a little bit at Southeastern, and I think that's kind of what happened there in the sixth against them. Stone Rock, I'm going to brag on him, man. Our place, 123 pitches and 93 strikes, doesn't walk one batter.
Wow.
I think he struck out 13. That's just but that being said, I think we had 10 hits off of him. So if you were asking me one thing, I would say trying to have more quality at bats. But, man, I'll tell you, the arms this year in the SVC are unreal. They're unreal.
Well, hopefully, you guys are in that mindset now. You understand that you're going to face great pitching every time you go, and you just get more comfortable with it, I think. And I think a lot of teams are probably in that same situation. Like you said, that's a big win against Southeastern. And you mentioned the other SVC games other than probably the Unioto one. You're right there. So, just keep battling, and good things are going to happen, I think.
Yep, turn the heat up outside sometime.
Please.
Too.
I'm tired of watching cold baseball games.
Please do that.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us tonight, and wish you the best of luck the rest of this week, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, bye.
All right, well, I think that's going to be it for tonight's show, Matt, but, We talked a lot early in the season about the softball being wide open, and then you just hear him talk about the arms and the SVC, and obviously Unioto's got the leg up right now, undefeated. But
isn't Westfall still undefeated?
You know what? I think you're right.
And they play tomorrow.
I think
so. That'll
right.
change after tomorrow.
Yeah. So maybe they're saving KB for tomorrow. So,
well, yeah. If I'm a betting man, KB will be pitching tomorrow. I'm assuming. And Westfall. I don't think has played this week, so their ace will be ready to go tomorrow too. So it'll be
a heck of a
one-on-one. It's at Westfall, so a tough place to go play baseball. Even if it's warm, it's cold there. for whatever reason. So,
yes,
you know, we'll have probably a little bit clearer picture in terms of how that's going to look after one round, close to one round next week when we come on the show. And honestly, softball, I think Piketon, are they the only undefeated team left now?
I think they might
because
be.
Zane Trace lost.
I think they might be. Yeah.
So that's still wide open. So
yeah, I expect like a 1-0, 2-1 game tomorrow night. Union and Westfall. I think that's going to be a pitcher's duel.
I believe so. I mean,
so
yep, I think so.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be a wrap for tonight's show. So for Christian Spradlin, Matt Hoops, and myself, Jeran Cox, thanks for tuning in, and we'll look forward to being back here next Tuesday night on the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show.